about it. So many women reached out and said how nice it was to see that represented on, you know, on a show and talked about. So yeah, I was really, really proud of that. And I was always proud. I think Stephanie always, Steph spoke her mind, and I was always proud of her little spunk and attitude.
What about the opposite? Like, was there anything, you know, like as a child, as a teenager, that you were just like, oh, I just don't want to do this, or just a storyline? Or
I mean, I don't know about storylines that I like didn't want to do, but I think at probably as I got older to like middle school age, I just became more self-conscious of like, what are my friends going to think? My friends are going to think this is lame, you know, like that sort of thing. Like now as an adult, my kids are like, oh my God, mom, you're so lame. I'm like, yeah, I know. I get, this is what I do for a living. We don't worry about it. But as like an 11 or 12-year-old girl, you're like, I just want to be like normal. And, you know, of course we're doing silly, ridiculous stories on Full House. And yeah.
what about, you know, listen, the show was such a huge success. It went on for 8 seasons. Like, do you have like that first memory of like when you realized like you were famous and like your relationship to fame and concept of it?
You know, I guess growing up in this business, I mean, I guess I don't ever really remember a time before I was working as a kid. I started working at around 4 doing commercials and things like that. I never had like, you know, quote unquote normal school experience until high school. So I had nothing to really compare it to. And as the show got bigger within like the second and third season with Full House, you know, it just, I noticed I would get recognized more, and I, you know, it was like harder to go maybe to the mall or to Disneyland or something without being recognized or stopped for an autograph. And, you know, it was different then because not everyone had a camera phone. So you weren't being stopped and asked for, like it was, you know, it was a different, it was just a different time. But yeah, growing up in this business, I guess I never really felt like I was, like I never considered myself famous, but then I'd be like, oh, people know who I am like all over the world. It's kind of weird. But, you know, I went to a public school and most of my friends were normal. Still to this day, I have like a lot of friends that aren't in this business. So my life is it's pretty normal other than, you know, what I do for a living.
Were you all in? Because I've talked to a lot of like adult working actors and actresses that, you know, started at your age. And, you know, like I hear a lot of different things like, were you all in, or were you ever just like, you know, I think it's a hard concept of like, it's long hours, it's a tough business. Or were you like, I just want to go play with my friends and I don't want to work right now?
No, I loved it. And I remember my mom used to say, and I even say now, like, I never feel more at home or more on fire than when I'm on set. The way my brain works, it's going 9,000 miles an hour all the time. So being on set is perfect for me. And I've always been like that as a kid. There's so much going on and so much to pay attention to. And like, I just really thrived in that environment. So when I was working as a kid, it was like, it was everything I wanted. It was excitement. It was fun. It was laughing. It was, you know, acting. It was creative. It was constantly changing. So it like, I really think it was an environment that I thrived in and that I still do. And I just, whenever I walk on set, like I love it. I love it.
And then to that effect, did you ever, just because you start so young, you know, most people grow up, they decide what they want to do with their life. Did you ever like maybe after Full House, like, you know, did you ever, because you worked a lot after Full House, of course, but like, did you ever think like, maybe I should go, you know, be a doctor, be a school teacher? Like, did you have thoughts of doing something else ever?
I actually got my undergrad degree in elementary education with liberal studies with an emphasis in elementary education and a history minor. I was going to be an elementary school teacher when I graduated college. I worked in schools for a little while and then kind of went off and did my 20s. And then I worked in drug and alcohol treatment and was a director of operations for several different places here in Southern California, and worked my way up there and had like a normal civilian job, and actually was working that job while we were pitching Fuller House, and left right from that and started working in TV again. And then everything kind of came back full circle, and I realized that this is really what I love and what I want to do. But I do know I have other things. If, you know, if I weren't an actress, I'd probably be a therapist or, you know, involved in that field somehow.
Wow. Well, you mentioned like, you know, there was this family that was developing, you know, that doesn't just happen. Like we all know how the business works. You go to work, you have some great colleagues, you make a great show, 10 years, 8 years, and then you keep in touch maybe when you see them at an award show or in the industry. Like, How did this all happen? Like you guys really grew so
I
close.
I don't know how it was. And I really always say like something very magical happened among this cast. And even like, Lori Loughlin, who got brought in later I think in the second or third season, maybe second season, she just fit so perfectly right in with us. Like it was, I think it genuinely came from having good, kind people in the cast. There was not anyone who was mean or selfish or arrogant and who didn't like kids. They were always really warm and inclusive with us and joked with us. And like, it didn't feel like as kids we were a bother, it felt like we were included. And I think because of that, we just all bonded and we all really spent time together. Even when, I was a kid, we would all be hanging out on set or doing like, it was just very close. And I think, I don't know, just some magical little spell happened because it wasn't only our cast that remained close, but crew remained close. I mean, and some of them, came back and worked on Fuller House. I mean, there was a cameraman there who I've known since I was 4 years old that worked on my very first show. So it's great to see those people as you go along in this career, and Full House really, so many people that have worked on both shows have said that they've never worked on a set that was so warm and inclusive and felt like such family. So I'm really proud that Fuller House has done that for people.
Wow. Well, like you guys are so close. What's one of the best things about having Candiace Cameron as a BFF?
I mean, like, it's so funny because we challenge each other like I am not a runner. Andrea's a runner. Candace is a runner. I'll never forget for Andrea's 40th birthday, she wanted us all to run 4 miles. And I was like, I'm not doing it. And Candace was like, you have to. And I was like, I'm not doing it. And like, so they really, like, as a sister would, she was like, no, you're running this. I don't care. Like, this is what's happening. And I did. And I ran 4 miles consecutively and I never have to do that again. But yeah, having Candace and Andrea as best friends growing up and sort of older sister figures, it meant a lot. I was an only child, so it was great to have those relationships.
Were you involved? You mentioned like Fuller House and like you went right from your day job, which was not in acting, to Fuller House.
Right.
Like, were you like, how did you first hear about this? Like, did someone from the cast call you? Like, was it John Stamos or?
We were actually involved in all of the pitch meetings. Candace, Andrea, and I. It was Candace, Andrea, myself, John Stamos, Jeff Franklin, the creator, and Bob Boyette, who would go in and pitch these meetings. So we had been talking about it with John and Jeff for quite some time, several years actually. We kind of been toying around with the idea, and then finally it just sort of came to fruition, and we figured all the pieces out that needed to be figured out, and started pitching it around to different networks. So yeah, from the very beginning, I was really excited and